David Key, and I'm here at Brazos Valley Equine Hospital, Morganville, Texas, with David Ricks, veterinary here. That you work in the reproduction part of this?
Correct, yes.
Okay, and so when you started, you got to go through the whole vet school to get to the reproduction part of it, I'm assuming?
Correct, yes.
And so what made you decide that you wanted to be in the reproduction? Were you into that when you were a kid, or?
No, not really. During vet school, of course, specialized more in the horse stuff. And when I got out of school, ended up in North Carolina. And at that practice, we kind of did everything. You know, we were working even on goats and farm animals and stuff like that. But one of the things we offered there was the reproduction stuff. And so I got kind of involved with it there, started doing it a lot there. And then from North Carolina, I moved to Whitesboro, Texas. And there, the clinic I went to was 100% reproduction. So got really involved with it there and started doing the embryo transfers and more advanced stuff with that. So really spent 6-7 years there, you know, fine-tuning all my skills with that, and then from there moved to Brazos Valley Equine. So
how would you, I mean, you know, to me, I'm not into the reproduction part of it much, so I don't really even understand about it, but when I think of the reproduction part, I think of, well, you go breed a mare and a stud and you got a colt, and it's pretty simple. Why would a vet have to be involved in the reproduction part of it?
Well, so it's the advancements we've made in reproduction have come a long way to where we can take older and fertile mares and be able to, you know, produce a live foal out of the deal, either through embryo transfer or just a really intensively managed mare. So that part is where a vet comes involved. And also I think in a lot of these quarter horse industries that we deal with whether it's reining or cutting or even the barrel horses now, we get so much inbreeding, I guess I could call it, and we don't select for reproductive capability in the horse. Like in cattle, you know, you cull the cows that don't have calves every year. In horses, you know, we cull the horses that don't run fast or don't cut good or stuff like that, but we don't pay any attention to the reproductive ability of the horse. So as time goes on, the longer we go, we get less and less reproductively sound animals, but we're still wanting foals, so we become more involved with veterinarians to try and accomplish that goal.
So that's where the embryo transfer stuff came, and I've heard about it. I've never actually seen it work or whatever, but how does that work?
So in an embryo transfer situation, we breed the donor mare or your particular mare to whatever stud you choose. But instead of having her carry that foal to term and deliver it, about a week to 8 days after she ovulates, after we breed her, we go in and actually flush that uterus out with fluid, and out comes the embryo, recover it, and then we take that embryo and put it in a recipient mare. And the recipient mare is chosen based on her reproductive soundness, usually nothing else. So a lot of them are a little wild and not broke and stuff like that, but they have a really nice uterus, so they can carry your foal. So there's several reasons to do it. One is obviously if the donor mare is infertile, or two, if you want to continue riding and showing, you know, the particular mare you want to breed. We could take that baby out of her and she'll end up having a baby the next year, even though you never got off of her, and you could still train on her and things like that. Or the older mare situation where she couldn't carry it herself anyway, she still ends up with the foal.
How do they get bred if they aren't fertile enough, or if they can't carry it or whatever? How's that work?
So yeah, that's a good point, because embryo transfer is only going to work if at least part of her reproductive tract is working. She still has to ovulate a normal egg and be able to get fertilized. Where the embryo transfer helps is in the uterine environment. In the uterus itself, if it's incapable, either through scarring or having multiple foals, or you know, if she's got adhesions or any kind of pathology in that uterus itself, we can bypass that completely and put it in a good uterus. There are other reproductive techniques that we can use if she has issues with other parts, and those get very advanced, where we actually, before she even ovulates, we go in and aspirate her follicle or stick a needle in her follicle and suck the egg out before she even ovulates it, and then we take that egg and under a microscope actually inseminate it, kind of like your human in vitro fertilization. And we actually inject that egg with a sperm cell of whatever stud you want, and then grow that baby in an incubator, and then transfer it into a recipient mare. So yeah, it gets very advanced quickly. Yeah, so yeah, that's what.
That sounds like lots of dollars.
Right. It can get expensive. So yeah, that's pretty much reserved for your really high dollar mares that, you know, it's very important to get a baby or at least economically feasible to do all that. So.
Wow, that's interesting. And then what I guess the AI is so big as far as what would be the reason why you would even AI a horse or whatever?
Well, the big benefit of AI is number one, your stud can breed multiple mares in a day. So in a live cover situation, the max you probably would ever do would be 3 mares in one day. You know, let them mount 3 different mares in one day, and that's what the thoroughbred guys do in Kentucky. With the quarter horse, we can collect him one time and split out his dose of what he gives us and make 7, 8, 9, 10, you know, depending on the stud, doses with that. And so one collection, we can breed 7, 8, 9 mares. And you can allow that stud to, you know, only collect once every other day, and he can still breed, you know, 150 mares kind of deal. So we can, you know, increase our book of who we're breeding with the AI. And the second benefit would be the distance. You know, with the live cover situation, if you wanted to breed your mare to a stud who lived in North Carolina, you're going to have to take your mare to him, or he's going to have to come here, one or the other. Whereas with AI, we can put it on an airplane and fly it to you, or FedEx it to you overnight. So it definitely increases, you know, your geography of where you can breed mares. So.
Semen's cheaper to sip than horse.
Yeah, definitely.
And then why would you mentioned the thoroughbreds? That's how they do live mount. Why do they do that?
I think it's just a tradition thing for them. It definitely increases the value of the foal. Hence the reason thoroughbreds are so expensive, because they're more rare. Let's say, you know, whereas in quarter horses, you know, you get a pretty popular stallion. In 2 years, he's got 500 babies, you know, on the ground. Whereas in Kentucky, you know, it's a limited number. And with embryo transfer, also, you can't do embryo transfer in thoroughbreds either. You know, cannot. Yeah, it's again just a traditional thing.
Okay, but they could physically,
yeah,
but the thoroughbred won't allow.
Right.
Okay.
And actually, I shouldn't say that. You can in a thoroughbred do an embryo transfer. You just can't register it with the jockey club, and you can't race and things like that.
I see. So it's no value anyway.
Right. It would just be
unless you just want a thoroughbred pet.
Right. Yeah, and you know, and some of those dressage horses, you know, they don't care if they're registered for the jockey club and stuff. So, you know, that it is done in thoroughbreds, but not for the racing industry at all. So
that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's a lot of stuff I didn't know.
That also dilutes, you know, by doing embryo transfer, your mare could have 3 babies this year, as opposed to naturally just having 1. So all of a sudden, your mare, you know, pedigree has 15 babies in 3 years, whereas those mares only have 3. So they're more valuable because of the numbers. So
I understand. Yeah,
so it's good and bad. You know, it dilutes the gene pool a bit, but it's, you know, you also get more babies on the ground.
Get more options.
Right, exactly.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time.
Problem.
That was very interesting. I learned a lot today about reproduction in case I ever want to go into it.